If you've ever wondered why so many people exercise consistently, eat reasonably well, and still struggle to lose weight, the answer often isn't calories. It's liver health. Here's a perspective that may change how you think about weight loss. Even individuals with a normal BMI can carry hidden fat in their liver. In fact, about 32% of people fall into this category without realizing it. This fat is not harmless. It actively interferes with hormonal signals that regulate metabolism, making it significantly harder for your body to burn energy efficiently. Once you address this underlying issue, especially the fat stored deep within liver cells, losing weight, particularly around the abdomen, becomes far more achievable. In this video, I'll walk you through 5 evidence-based drinks that can help target and mobilize liver fat. These are practical, accessible options that you can begin incorporating into your routine right away. Some may already be in your kitchen. Many people assume that if they don't drink heavily and their routine lab tests look normal, their liver must be healthy. Clinically, that assumption is outdated. Over nearly 15 years in emergency and metabolic medicine, I've seen how misleading this belief can be. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or NAFLD, has become the most common liver condition globally, affecting roughly 1 in 3 adults in developed countries. What's more concerning is that most of these individuals were told their liver function was normal. The reality is this: standard liver enzyme tests can remain within normal ranges, even when up to 30% of the liver has already been infiltrated by fat. By the time abnormalities appear in blood work, the process has often been progressing silently for years. Understanding this gap is the first step toward taking control of your metabolic health and achieving sustainable weight loss. Hi, I'm Dr. Susan Miller. As an emergency medicine physician and metabolism specialist, I've spent years treating patients with type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and severe insulin resistance. Over time, I kept tracing these conditions back to one commonly overlooked root cause: liver dysfunction. What changed my clinical approach was realizing that we've been overly focused on what people eat while largely ignoring whether the liver can properly process those nutrients. When the liver becomes overloaded with fat, it doesn't just impair liver function, it disrupts the body's entire metabolic system. Blood sugar regulation becomes unstable, fat burning slows down, and energy storage becomes inefficient. In short, everything downstream is affected. What's encouraging and clinically significant is that the liver is highly regenerative. Under the right conditions, it can begin reducing fat accumulation in a matter of weeks, not years. And some of the most effective ways to support this process are surprisingly simple, starting with specific therapeutic drinks that can help restore metabolic balance and improve liver function. In this video, I'll explain why liver fat is a hidden driver behind stubborn weight loss, even when you're doing everything right. We'll break down the biology of how fat becomes trapped inside liver cells and why most traditional diets fail to address this root issue. I'll also walk you through 5 research-backed drinks that can help activate the liver's natural fat-burning and detoxification pathways. Just as important, you'll learn the correct amounts, timing, and preparation methods, because these details determine whether you see real results or no benefit at all. Finally, I'll highlight 3 of the most common mistakes that undermine progress and how to avoid them, so you can support your metabolism more effectively and achieve sustainable fat loss. Let's get started. Picture your liver as a large-scale water filtration plant serving millions. It continuously processes everything that comes in, filtering, converting, and distributing what your body needs. Now imagine that system gradually becoming clogged. It still functions, but efficiency drops, output quality declines, and pressure builds throughout the entire network. That's essentially what happens with a fatty liver. The liver is the central hub of your metabolism. Every calorie you consume, whether from a salad or a sandwich, passes through it to be processed, stored, or burned. Under normal conditions, it precisely regulates energy, storing glucose as glycogen, converting nutrients, or exporting fat as needed. But when fat accumulates inside liver cells, a condition known as hepatic steatosis, this system begins to fail. The liver becomes resistant to insulin, disrupting its ability to regulate blood sugar and fat metabolism. Instead of responding appropriately, It continues producing glucose even when levels are already elevated and starts storing more triglycerides rather than burning or exporting them. This metabolic dysfunction doesn't stay isolated. It cascades throughout the body, making fat loss more difficult, especially around the abdomen, and increasing the risk of chronic disease. Here's how this directly affects your waistline. When the liver is overloaded with fat, it becomes resistant to key metabolic signals. It loses sensitivity to leptin, the hormone that tells your brain you're full, and disrupts AMPK, often called the body's metabolic switch, which drives fat burning. When AMPK activity declines, fat oxidation slows throughout the entire body, not just in the liver. This is why many people feel like their metabolism has stopped working, and biologically, it has been impaired. Importantly, you don't have to be overweight to develop a fatty liver. Many individuals with a normal body weight still carry high levels of visceral fat and show the same metabolic dysfunction as those with obesity. This condition is more common than most people realize and often goes undetected. The encouraging part is that the liver is highly responsive to targeted interventions. With the right dietary and lifestyle strategies, studies have shown that liver fat can decrease significantly within 6 to 8 weeks. That's not a slow, long-term change. It's a measurable metabolic improvement that can begin in a relatively short period of time. Now let's break down how specific drinks can directly improve liver fat metabolism through 3 key biological pathways. Pathway 1, AMPK activation, turning fat burning back on. AMPK, an enzyme that regulates cellular energy, signals your body to burn stored fat when activated. In a healthy liver, this process runs efficiently, but in a fatty liver, AMPK activity is suppressed, and the body shifts towards storing fat instead of using it. Certain bioactive compounds, such as EGCG in green tea, chlorogenic acid in coffee, and curcumin in turmeric, have been shown to reactivate AMPK in liver cells. Once this pathway is restored, the liver begins mobilizing and oxidizing its own fat stores, effectively restarting metabolic function. Pathway 2, inhibition of hepatic fat production. Even with calorie restriction, a metabolically impaired liver can continue producing fat through a process called de novo lipogenesis. This is a common reason many people hit weight loss plateaus. Compounds like betaine in beetroot juice and polyphenols found in plant-based drinks can suppress this process by down-regulating key pathways responsible for fat synthesis. As a result, the liver reduces its internal fat production, even when carbohydrate intake is still present. Pathway 3, bile stimulation and fat export. One of the liver's primary ways of clearing fat is by packaging it into lipoproteins and exporting it into circulation for use by other tissues. This process depends heavily on adequate bile production and flow. When bile becomes sluggish, a common issue in fatty liver, fat clearance slows significantly. Natural compounds found in drinks like dandelion root tea and lemon water can stimulate bile flow, improving this export mechanism. As bile circulation improves, the liver becomes more efficient at clearing stored fat. Together, these pathways address the problem at its root, reactivating fat burning, reducing new fat formation, and enhancing fat removal. Research on dietary strategies for fatty liver has expanded rapidly in recent years, and the findings are both consistent and clinically meaningful. A randomized controlled trial involving adults with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease showed that concentrated green tea extract taken over 12 weeks significantly reduced liver enzymes such as ALT and AST, along with measurable decreases in liver fat. These effects are largely attributed to EGCG, which helps suppress fat production and enhance fat oxidation within liver cells. Large-scale data also support the role of coffee. A meta-analysis of over 400,000 individuals found that regular coffee consumption was associated with nearly a 30% lower risk of developing fatty liver, along with reduced progression to fibrosis and cirrhosis. Consuming 2 or more cups daily appears to provide the most consistent benefit. Beetroot juice has also demonstrated promising results. In clinical settings, daily intake over several weeks led to reductions in liver fat and improvements in inflammatory markers. This effect is linked to betaine, a compound that supports liver detoxification and cellular repair through methylation pathways. Curcumin, the active compound in turmeric, has been extensively studied as well. Across multiple randomized trials, it consistently reduced liver enzymes, blood glucose, and overall liver fat content. Its anti-inflammatory and metabolic effects are significant, although proper absorption remains a key factor in achieving results. Emerging evidence also highlights the role of lemon-derived polyphenols. Experimental studies suggest they can reduce fat accumulation in the liver by enhancing fat-burning pathways and protecting liver cells from oxidative stress. While large human trials are still ongoing, the underlying mechanisms are strongly supported. Taken together, these findings show that specific compounds found in everyday drinks can directly influence liver health by reducing fat buildup, improving metabolism, and supporting long-term recovery. Now let's move into the first of the 5 key drinks. Drink 1, matcha green tea, 2 to 3 cups daily. Not all green tea is created equal. Matcha contains the entire ground tea leaf, delivering significantly higher concentrations of EGCG, often up to 3 times more than standard brewed green tea. Clinical evidence suggests a daily intake of approximately 300 to 400 milligrams of EGCG can support fat oxidation and improve liver metabolism. This can be achieved with 2 servings of high-quality matcha or about 3 cups of premium loose-leaf green tea. Preparation matters. Use water between 160 and 175 degrees Fahrenheit, never boiling, as excessive heat can degrade EGCG by up to 30%. Adding the juice of half a lemon enhances absorption, as vitamin C helps stabilize EGCG and increases its bioavailability. Avoid dairy milk, as milk proteins can bind to these compounds and significantly reduce their effectiveness. Plant-based options like almond or oat milk are acceptable. For best results, consume matcha in the morning or early afternoon. It has a mild thermogenic and stimulating effect, so it's best to avoid it within 4 hours of bedtime to prevent sleep disruption. Drink 2. Black coffee, 2 to 3 cups daily. Coffee is one of the most well-supported beverages in liver health research. Compounds such as chlorogenic acid, caffeine, and diterpenes help reduce liver inflammation, suppress fat production, and support normalization of liver enzymes. Evidence suggests that 2 to 3 cups per day provide optimal benefit, while higher intake offers diminishing returns and may elevate cortisol. For preparation, choose filtered coffee over unfiltered methods like French press, as paper filters remove compounds that can raise LDL cholesterol with excessive intake. Drink it black or with a small amount of plant-based milk. Avoid sugar and flavored creamers, as they can spike insulin and counteract liver benefits. If needed, a pinch of cinnamon is a better alternative with additional metabolic support. Consume coffee in the morning or early in the day, ideally with or after breakfast. Avoid intake within 6 hours of bedtime, as sleep quality plays a critical role in metabolic and liver health. Drink 3. Turmeric, ginger, and lemon water, 1 glass each morning. This combination targets multiple pathways simultaneously. Curcumin in turmeric helps activate fat metabolism while reducing inflammation through key signaling pathways. Ginger contributes additional anti-inflammatory compounds that support reductions in liver fat, and lemon juice stimulates bile flow, improving fat clearance. To prepare, use about half a teaspoon of high-quality turmeric powder or fresh turmeric root. Add a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper to enhance curcumin absorption, and include fresh grated ginger with the juice of half a lemon. Mix with 300 to 400 milliliters of warm, not boiling water. For best results, drink this first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, when bile production and metabolic signaling are most responsive. Drink 4. Fresh beet juice, 150 to 200 milliliters daily. Beetroot is one of the richest sources of betaine, a compound essential for liver methylation, a process required for fat metabolism and export. When this pathway is impaired, as often seen in fatty liver, fat accumulates instead of being cleared. Clinical data show that regular intake of beet-derived compounds can reduce liver fat and improve markers such as ALT. In addition, beets provide nitrates that enhance blood flow to the liver, and betalains with antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. For best results, use fresh pressed juice or choose unsweetened bottled versions without added sugars. A daily intake of about 150 to 200 milliliters is sufficient. If the taste is strong, dilute with water. A harmless side effect is a temporary reddish tint in urine or stool. Consume beet juice mid-morning or early afternoon, ideally between meals for better absorption. Drink 5. Dandelion root tea, 1 to 2 cups daily. This is one of the most overlooked yet highly effective drinks for supporting liver fat clearance. Dandelion root contains compounds that stimulate bile production and flow, which is essential for exporting fat out of the liver. When bile flow improves, the liver becomes more efficient at clearing stored fat. It also offers additional benefits by mildly reducing fat absorption in the gut and supporting beneficial gut bacteria linked to improved metabolic health. To prepare, use roasted dandelion root, not the leaf, steeped in hot water for 8 to 10 minutes to extract its active compounds. You may add a small amount of honey if needed, but keeping it plain is ideal. For optimal effect, drink it in the evening after dinner, when bile activity and digestive processes naturally increase. From years of clinical experience in metabolic and liver health, a few key principles consistently separate those who see real results from those who don't. First, sequence matters. Start your day with turmeric and lemon water on an empty stomach to stimulate bile flow before food intake. Then follow with coffee or matcha during or after breakfast, when your metabolism is most active. This timing enhances fat oxidation and nutrient processing. Avoid combining beet juice with coffee in the same sitting. Allow at least a 90-minute gap to preserve their individual benefits. Second, consistency is critical. The metabolic effects of these compounds are cumulative, not immediate. A single serving won't create meaningful change, but daily use over 4 to 6 weeks can significantly improve liver fat metabolism and enzyme activity. Commit to a minimum of 6 weeks before evaluating results. Third, hydration amplifies everything. All the mechanisms involved, fat burning, bile production, detoxification, and cellular repair, depend on adequate fluid intake. Aim for at least 2.5 liters of total fluids per day, including plain water, to support optimal liver function. If you need to simplify, prioritize matcha and filtered black coffee. These two have the strongest clinical evidence for reducing liver fat and improving metabolic health. Other options like beet juice and dandelion tea provide additional support and can be incorporated progressively based on preference and availability. Now let's address the most common mistakes that can completely undermine your results. First, adding sugar or sweetened creamers to every drink. This is one of the biggest issues I see. Even small amounts of added sugar can trigger insulin spikes, which directly promote hepatic fat production, the exact process you're trying to reduce. If you need sweetness, limit it to 1 lightly sweetened drink per day and keep the rest plain. Most people adapt within 2 to 3 weeks, and their taste preferences shift quickly. Second, expecting rapid results. Liver fat doesn't build up overnight, and it doesn't resolve that way either. Most clinical improvements occur over 8 to 12 weeks. Many people quit after 2 weeks because they don't see changes on the scale, but that's the wrong metric. Early improvements often show up as better energy, reduced bloating, and improved sleep before any visible weight loss. Third, relying on supplements instead of whole drinks. Whole beverages like matcha, coffee, beet juice, and dandelion tea contain complex compounds that work together synergistically. Isolated supplements may provide one active ingredient, but they lack the full metabolic effect. Whenever possible, use real, minimally processed drink forms. Finally, using these drinks while maintaining a poor diet. These beverages support your liver. They don't override unhealthy habits. A diet high in processed foods and refined carbohydrates will continue to drive inflammation and fat accumulation. Think of these drinks as metabolic enhancers, not shortcuts. They work best when combined with a balanced, nutrient-dense diet. Fatty liver is not an inevitable part of aging or the result of a few years of imperfect eating. In my clinical experience, many patients have successfully reversed it, not because of genetics or expensive treatments, but because they applied the right strategies consistently and understood what their liver truly needed. Your body already has the mechanisms in place: AMPK pathways for fat burning, bile systems for fat export, and methylation processes for detoxification and repair. These systems don't disappear, they're simply under-supported over time. When properly activated, the liver responds quickly, often faster than most other organs. You don't need a complete lifestyle overhaul overnight. Start simple. A cup of matcha or a glass of turmeric water in the morning, is enough to begin activating these pathways. From there, build gradually and stay consistent. That's what drives real lasting change. Let's bring everything together in a clear, practical way. Fatty liver, or NAFLD, affects roughly 1 in 3 adults and is a major hidden driver of stubborn belly fat, insulin resistance, and metabolic slowdown, even in people with a normal BMI and routine lab results. The dysfunction comes down to 3 core mechanisms: reduced AMPK activity, which slows fat burning, increased de novo lipogenesis, where the liver produces its own fat, and impaired bile flow, which limits fat export. To address this, 5 targeted drinks can support these pathways effectively. Matcha green tea, 2 to 3 cups daily, prepared at 160 to 175 degrees Fahrenheit with lemon and no dairy. Rich in EGCG, it helps activate fat burning and reduce liver fat synthesis. Black coffee, 2 to 3 cups daily, preferably filtered and without sugar. Its compounds reduce inflammation and limit fat accumulation in the liver. Turmeric, ginger, and lemon water. 1 large glass in the morning on an empty stomach, always with black pepper to enhance curcumin absorption. This combination reduces inflammation and supports metabolic activation. Fresh beet juice, about 150 to 200 milliliters daily, unsweetened. It supports liver detoxification and fat export while reducing inflammation. Dandelion root tea, 1 to 2 cups daily, steeped for 8 to 10 minutes, ideally after dinner. It stimulates bile flow, enhances fat clearance, and supports gut health. Timing plays an important role. Start your morning with turmeric water, follow with coffee or matcha at breakfast, drink beet juice mid-morning, and finish the day with dandelion tea in the evening. Most importantly, commit to at least 6 to 8 weeks. That's the window where clinical evidence shows measurable reductions in liver fat and meaningful improvements in metabolic function. Your health is not determined solely by genetics or your past. It's shaped daily by the choices you make. These 5 drinks are not a cure, but they are powerful, consistent inputs that support your liver's natural ability to regulate metabolism, clear fat, and restore balance. You have far more control over your metabolic health than most people realize. Small, intentional changes done consistently can create measurable improvements over time. If you found this information helpful or gained a new perspective, consider subscribing to the 365 Health Guide channel and giving this video a like. It helps bring evidence-based, practical health insights to more people. And if you know someone struggling with stubborn weight despite their efforts, share this with them. Fatty liver is often overlooked and rarely addressed early enough. Thank you for taking the time to care for your health. I wish you steady progress, better energy, and long-term wellness. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.